him. He had it pretty easy relatively at Elkhart, long straightaways. But here, it's so bumpy, it's so rough, and look at his hands. He's got fast hands. He hits these bumps. You got to have hands like a ninja almost, snapping at the wheel. He's sideways coming off the corners. Look at that thing snap. He turns in here. There's a big curb at the apex. Bang, right through the hands, sideways coming off the corner. He is going to have his hands full, and we have noticed in practice that he's been favoring that wrist. It's been sore, it's been agitated, and this is going to be a tough race for him to get through.
And that was just a moment. That was just one onboard lap with Joseph Newgarden. You've got to think about they do 85 times that. This is a very tough and demanding track. So thanks so much for watching IndyCar Live, brought to you by Verizon. We're ready, the drivers are ready. We're going to go racing in Toronto when we come back. Hello, 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 hello. Booth mic, booth mic, booth mic.
Booth mic, TB. Say something, Paul.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Hey, Terry. Do you think it would make it easier on you if I just stood like by a lotions box and used the guy up on the boom cam up across the straightaway? I can be, absolutely. You tell me where he's going to be. Who's he going to start with? Or who's going to be with?
Joseph Newgarden.
He's by Newgarden?
Yeah, towards pit out.
Pit out. It's okay. I'll just go to pit out.
The story of Joseph Newgarden in 2016 is already one not to be forgotten.
Huge crash on the front straightaway. Connor Daly and I believe Joseph Newgarden, big hit coming into the tri-oval.
See Joseph Newgarden moving in the car, that is a big relief.
And 1 week after surgery, Joseph is back at Road America.
Time to bring the action.
Look who's all over the back of Juan Montoya, Joseph Newgarden.
Oh. With only one hand, he's boxing Juan Pablo Montoya. From 20th to 8th, that's an impressive run.
We'll try and go to Iowa. I'm going to try and heal up a little bit better for that physical track, and we'll try and get another win.
Green, green, green. You hear him calling. Simon Pagenaud gets the jump, but Newgarden immediately looks to the outside. Newgarden leads lap number 1.
This guy's got a broken collarbone, a broken knee. Just dominated.
Yeah. Joseph Newgarden wins in Iowa.
Oh, baby, that was good.
The remarkable comeback of Joseph Newgarden to now sit second in the standings in the Verizon IndyCar Championship continues to be a story of perseverance through pain. Driven to race with a fractured collarbone and broken hand, the young American returns to exhibition place in Toronto a winner. This street course last year delivered Newgarden his second career victory. Now carrying the momentum from Iowa, let's see if Joseph continues to rise.
That was a sweet way to win.
It's a perfect day north of the border in Canada's largest city, Toronto, as we welcome you to NBCSN's coverage of the Verizon IndyCar Series. It is Indy Toronto celebrating its 30th anniversary. Yes, there has been so much history here on the streets of Exhibition Place and a little bit more ready to be made. Hi folks, Lee Diffie along with Townsend Bell, Paul Tracy, Katie Hargett, Kevin Lee, Jan Beekes, Robin Miller working what is there below us, a revised pit lane here on the streets of Toronto. How has 2016 looked thus far? Well, JPM won. Pablo Montoya got things off to the best start in St. Petersburg in Florida, and you work your way all the way through the field to Joseph Newgarden, the most recent winner, and oh, by the way, he's the defending race winner here. Time to go trackside for the command.
Toronto race fans, are you ready? It's time for those most famous words in all of sports. Please welcome Commander of Canada's Special Operations Forces, Major General Mike Rouleau, to give the command.
Drivers, start your engines!
So almost time to get going for race 11 of 16 on the 2016 schedule. And all eyes on the local hero, Paul Tracy. You know what that feels like. How's James Hinchcliffe feeling right now?
I tell you what, there's a lot of pressure. And this guy, he wants to deliver for his hometown fans. I know firsthand how much pressure there is from the media. Every time you turn on the TV, he's on TV talking about what, the first question is, do you think you can win the Toronto Indy? So the pace car has rolled, the two-seater has rolled, and we're ready.
Yes, and that is that Honda has the fastest seat in sports today. We have a special guest in the two-seater riding along with Indy 500 champ Gilles de Ferrand, and that is radio personality Rich Gainsler from WGRF 97 Rock in Buffalo, nearby Buffalo. How's that ride, Rich?
It's bananas!
I think that could be the best answer we've ever had. Will you enjoy it? You're riding along with an IndyCar legend in Gilles de Ferrand. And for your chance, folks, to get on Honda's fastest seat in sports sweepstakes like Rich did, or did he? Maybe he's our special guest. Just go to racewithhonda.com and sign up and enjoy the ride like Rich is with Gilles de Ferrand, Mario Andretti, and many more. It is quite the ride with thanks to Honda. So, as Gilles and Rich lead the field around, let's take a look at the starting grid with thanks to Mother's Polish. And you might want to know this little historical nugget. The last time Scott Dixon started on the pole position here in Toronto, he went on to win.
And it bodes well for Dixon and that Ganassi team. So good at managing tire wear, something we'll be talking a lot about today. Bourdais and Hinchcliffe at the back there in row 3. Bourdais, former winner here, always fast on street circuits.
As we got the next group of guys, Connor Daly's had a great weekend so far, had a crash in warm-up. Newgarden nursing that injured hand. He's got to get a result. Montoya was quickest for a while in practice, but then it didn't come together to get into the Fast Six. And Eloshin, watch out for this guy. He's really quick all weekend, and he's a dark horse.
Do you want to be starting this far back on a track like Toronto? Well, possibly not, but Jack Hawksworth and Max Chilton both narrowly missed out on advancing through to the next phase of qualifying. Graham Rahal, he just touched the wall ever so slightly, but it was enough to unbalance his car. Ryan Hunter-Reay describes not only himself, but the Andretti squad lost here in Toronto.
Well, I think they've started to find their way, but it came late in the morning warm-up. Things started to settle in. Alexander Rossi starting to find some pace, but Marco Andretti continues to really struggle in qualifying at these events.
All right, and a lot on their mind, not only the 85 laps ahead, but how are we going to deal with this new and revised track that Townsend and Paul will walk you through and talk you through throughout every lap of this race. But they're also thinking about the task at hand and the bigger picture, and we're going to take you inside with thanks to the likes of Russo, who bring the number 15 car of Graham Rahal. He'll bring us this view and some others. Tony Kanaan, with thanks to NTT Data, will show us this view. back along Lakeshore Boulevard, the famous long back straight at Toronto. And Joseph Newgarden will show us this. Connor Daly, another talented young American, will show us this view. And he's got his best ever starting spot. Now, Will Power with thanks to Verizon. And then we make a quick switch to the Mayor of Hinchtown from Oakville, Ontario, with thanks to Lucas Oil. This is James Hinchcliffe. And Hinch also is carrying our Verizon streaming. And you can download Indycar Mobile to access exclusive live in-car cameras and hear driver and pit crew chatter and a whole lot more only from Verizon. Time to check in with our pit reporters one last time. Jan Beekes, kick us off.
And Lee, of course, Joseph Newgarden won this race last year with some clever pit strategy, but also some hard driving. And the hard part today is going to be physically just hanging onto the steering wheel with that broken right hand. He says the bumps here in Toronto are so extremely painful to that right hand, but of course he's going to persevere, he's going to push. Order of the day, no side-to-side contact, and be oh so careful not to pound those curbs. Katie?
Scott Dixon is the fastest guy here on the streets of Toronto, grabbing his very first pole of the season, and that's big for the 9 team, who's trying to come from behind again to win back-to-back championships. But Scott told us earlier he's got nothing to lose as he goes for his second win of the season to put extra pressure on Simon Pagenaud.
Katie, the track layout is different. This hotel in the distance being built has forced them to move the pit lane from the opposite side to driver's left, and it's curved a couple of times. It curves actually twice down the pit lane, and the always technical final 4 turns are even tighter, especially turn 11 right here. So the challenge for the drivers is how aggressive do you be, and you risk a big chance of sticking it in the wall, Robin.
Well, Kevin, I've been 49 years I've been covering this racing. I've never seen anything like this. These pits are the shortest by far, by 10 feet shorter than Indy, but the shortest we've ever had. They're bumpy, they're slipped, there's patches everywhere. The key is when the drivers come around the corner, they can't even see their pits, so turn it in. It's going to be, the exercise today is going to be the drivers taking care of the guys over the wall. And guess what? Usually the bravest guys in this race are the guys in the car. Today it's the guys servicing the car and the guys, especially on the right side of the car, changing tires. It's going to be a thrill show. Hopefully we're going to get through it good.
Something that everybody's been talking about is patience. Patience through this revised final few turns. Patience and precision on pit lane. Don't be awkward. Don't be clumsy. Be clean and get it right to stand a chance of winning this Honda Indy Toronto.
So many firsts here today with the track reconfigured side by side for the start through that new tight section of turn 10 and 11. That's going to be interesting. And then, like Robin said, when they come to pit lane, yellows breed yellows. And certainly we think there's a high possibility if you have a full course yellow if something happened on pit lane. Lee?
All right, packing up. Let's get up. Let's get packed up quickly. They're a little bit slow through the final turn to be packed up side by side. Guys who have battled for races and championships, Castro, Neves and Dixon on the front row. It's time to bring the action in Toronto. And look at that. Dixon gets away to a nice start. Pagenaud on the inside of his teammate. Will Power, Bourdais, they're all in the mix there.
Push to pass was already used by Pagenaud. He's coming out of the back straightaway, and he wants to make quick work of his teammate. He pops out. Both him and Power on push to pass already.
Hinchcliffe has been shuffled back a couple of positions. Pagenaud, that inside line. Power, the outside. He's come to grief here in years gone by. Power goes way wide. Bourdais looks up the inside.
Watch all these guys staying left through that kink. They get the advantage. Connor Daly's getting shuffled back. That's Bourdais having a look there on Power.
Newgarden around the outside of Juan Pablo Montoya. Michaela Lotion in that blue and red machine. Where is he? Right behind Bourdais, doing very well. But this was a surprisingly clean opening. Stanza Newgarden on the inside.
What a terrific pass.
Maybe not yet. Not a clean first lap as we look at Montoya on the outside of Hinchcliffe. We're not completed. There we go. We're not clean for the first lap, and it's Ryan Hunter-Reay,
Charlie Kimball.
and Charlie Kimball.
And that's turn 8. That's exactly where Newgarden just passed Hinch.
Wow, a whole front wing missing on Hunter-Reay's car. He'll dive right now for the pits, get that wing, and try to get out before they come around to lap him. That will be a devastating day. Look at Graham Rahal's got a flat tire.
He just went in the turn 1 runoff.
So was Graham involved in that? Was it not a 2-car incident, a 3-car incident?
Yeah, I think Graham got a cut tire. He thought Kimball hit him, so Graham's going to pit as well.
Watch this. There's Rahal on the inside.
He got hit by Hunter-Reay, it looks like.
I think you're right, Paul. Rahal was clipped.
I think Rahal ran over Kimball's front wing, and that cut his tire down. When Kimball spun, he got his tire underneath the back tire.
But watch, Hunter Ray gets Rahal here. Boom, right there.
Got a little bit. He got help from both sides. It looked like he got a little bit of chrome horn from Hunter Ray, and then Hunter Ray gets back out on the lead lap. So that is key. He needs to take this opportunity now to get completely off sequence, take some fuel. Now he's got to go opposite strategy. Look at this tire.
Yeah, that's the left rear.
You cannot go faster than that, or you will rip all your bodywork off.
All he needs to do is get in and stay in front of the pace car.
Problem now with these new rear wings and rear bumpers.
You want to change all four sets, go to the red, or you want to just change the left rear? Change all of them.
You will damage all the bodywork on the car and cause more problems for yourself. If you damage that rear wing, you're gonna have to change that. You're gonna have to change the side pod. So he's got to be really careful to get back to the pits and not cause extra damage.
Leaders on the back straight just entering turn 3 as Rahal comes to pit lane. They should be able to get him out in time to catch the tail end of the lead lap.
Kevin standing by the Rahal Letterman Lanigan pit.
They're not going to add any fuel. They just need to do the service because of the closed pit. Then they'll try to catch up. He's going to go from the primaries, which seem to be the preferred tire here for a longer stint. They're on their set of sticker alternate red Firestones, and Rahal back out, stays on the lead lap.
So it was looking good. They almost made a whole lap, and then they got into each other, ending the lap. So
let's show you what happened at the beginning of the race for Canadian hero James Hinchcliffe. Down into turn 1. Inside is Bourdais. Whoa, 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 whoa.
It's tight right there. Really difficult to go two abreast. He got shuffled to the outside. His teammate gets running. He's on push to pass.
First Bourdais and then Russian Mikhail Aloshin.
But now this is the key. If I can stay outside, no, I can't. Aloshin slides wide.
I tell you what, his teammate this weekend has really been aggressive. He's been to this track before, and he's really been on the charge, Aloshin, this weekekend.
As opposed to the last 10 races.
Well, true.
Well, he is coming off a great result too at Iowa, so feeling confident as we are closer to seeing green flag and getting going again. Almost, as Paul said, almost got through that first lap, got to turn 8 before there was an incident. Sarah Fisher driving the Honda safety car, and I saw Sarah before and said, I think you might have a busy day today. She said, I'm planning on it.
I tell you what, guys, we're not out of the woods now because, you know, like we always say, here's Graham Rahal going alternate strategy now. Yellows breed yellows, and this place is, it's so, the braking is so late down into turn 3, and you get such a draft off the other cars. It's so tempting, Townsend, to just really stuff it down the inside, and then you're locked up and you get into somebody. And
it is tempting, and it's also tempting with push to pass, because once you push that button,
you're committed. You're committed,
and you have an anxiety to make the most of the button push, if that makes sense. You only are allowed 15 per race. Sorry, 10 per race for 15 seconds, and you really want to make the most. Look at the biggest movers so far. Aloshin up 4 positions. Rossi up 3. I'll tell you, a loser so far in terms of positions. Connor Daly got shuffled from 7th all the way back to 11th. He just got muscled around and protected his car. He did the right thing, which was don't hit anything, don't get any contact.
It's going to be interesting to see where these guys take off. He's bringing it in slow. Normally in the past, guys would take off back there.
Right, ready to go through turn 10. The left-handed turn, revised turn 11. Let's go. Slingshotting onto the front straight. Whoa, look at the tails getting wide near that wall there. That was close for several drivers.
Watch Pagenaud. He pulls up on the back of his teammate.
Pagenaud's already on the button before turn 1, so he gets maximum drive off the corner. Can he catch Castroneves? No, Castroneves is now on the button to defend.
I don't think he's close enough unless he really goes for big out-braking maneuver, but Castroneves kind of fades that inside, does the old Pruitt fade. Keeps that inside blocked as we see Newgarden making a move. And look at,
whoa, Juan Pablo Montoya and Tony Kanaan.
Pretty rare that you would see the outside like Montoya have the advantage there. He just muscled his way past. Montoya's had such a run of bad luck. He needs a result, and he's going to go grab it.
Scott Dixon, Elio Castroneves, Simon Pagenaud, Will Power, Sebastian Bourdais, Michaela Lotion, James Hinchcliffe did end up winning that private battle with Joseph Newgarden and is ahead. First lap back at full speed, and that gives you a great shot. Pit Road used to be over on the right-hand side in front of those grandstands, running down to the new hotel there where you see the trees planted. There's the exit there where that pickup truck vehicle is.
We've got 4 of the top 5 contenders in the championship running 1, 2, 3, 4. Joseph Newgarden just outside that group, and the next group here. So we've got a battle here for the championship that has started in Toronto.
Paul Montoya's on the button, and there he gets into Newgarden.
Took the back bumper pod off. It's laying in the middle of the straightaway.
This is Road America all over again between these two. Newgarden's not going to stand for it, but he won't have a chance to fight back.
Well, he's lost that rear pod, so it's going to be interesting. He's going to lose a bunch of downforce off the rear, Townsend, and now it's dragging. So,
and is there any damage to Montoya? I'm looking closely to the front wing as the rear pod is dragging along. Let's see if it flings anywhere. Full course yellow.
That's a big break for Newgarden because he'll be able to come in and not lose a lap and replace that pod, but you do not want that pod to come loose on a straightaway and land in the driver's lap in another car. So, lucky break there for Newgarden.
Well, and lucky for Montoya that he doesn't have more damage to the front of his car. Watch this. Montoya's on the button. Newgarden in the blue car. Montoya looking in the orange car, looks inside, then fades to the outside. His right front wing takes off the rear pod.
Looked like Newgarden kind of shut the door on him when he went to the right. Newgarden closed that door, and then he had to go to the other way, and there just wasn't enough space. Hunter Ray comes off, barely taps the wall.
Yeah, that's as close as it gets, but I don't think there'd be any damage there. I don't know that that Newgarden put any kind of fade there on Montoya. I think Montoya was just trying to do the fake. He was just trying to show his nose, but it's tough to tell from that angle, Paul. You call it
the shake and bake?
Well, maybe you could explain the Pruitt fade.
Well, the Pruitt fade is when you're looking in your mirrors and you just subtly move over and you just don't leave enough space for the guy to go down the inside and force him to go to the outside. And then when he goes for the outside, you just subtly fade over back that way too.
We're a little concerned whether Juan Pablo Montoya might have had some damage as well, but he thinks his car is okay.
Front wing to rear tire exchange kind of reminds me of you and Michael Andretti, Service Paradise, late 1990s.
Let me ask you guys a question here. If you have contact, which then hurts Newgarden's race, he's going to have to stop. Does that still fall under the review of avoidable contact without a spin?
Possibly, but there's no marks. I mean, we obviously saw, but look, you would think it would have peeled that wing end plate off the end of the wing.
And we understand it's under review. My point is that if Newgarden had spun and gone to the back, what's the difference of having to come to pit lane for a wing replacement? Jan?
And one of the reasons Joseph Newgarden was under so much pressure, remember, he started this race on the black Firestone primaries, not as fast as the Firestone alternates, which they have ready for the car now. Now, this will not be a super fast stop in that they know they're going to drop to the back of the order. We are under a full course caution, so it's just an exercise of getting these tires changed. This is a quick release rear wing. We see Ray Hall and Ryan Hunter-Ray flash by on the outside. And again, this is designed for a quick release change, but there is now a tether. There is now a very high strength tether that they have to attach. They did not have last year. So this rear section change does take a little bit longer. But again, this is under caution. He'll be able to catch up to the back of the field. He'll lose all that track position. But as Paul said, it's a lucky break from the standpoint. He doesn't lose a lap, and he'll still be in the fight as soon as they get this completed.
Look at Joseph. One mirror to the next, back up to the pit box.
Wants to know what's going on. He's looking at his crew chief saying, why is this taking so long?
Well, he's worried about the pace car. He's okay. They're over in turn 6 right now. He's got about another 30 to 45 seconds here. Look at him.
Oh, the anguish.
You got to understand, 30 seconds seems like 3 minutes when you're sitting there waiting for the guys to change. But look, he nearly lost that lap. That was close because they're only one corner away from the pit entry.
Well, they're restarting, I believe, this lap. So that's what's hurting Joseph. He probably won't have time to catch up. No, he won't. Here comes the restart.
Scott Dixon, when he first arrived at Exhibition Place this year, was not a big fan of this section here. The altered section of this 1.7-mile street circuit. He's been performing very well on it. That outside wall, turn 11, is a key spot that we're watching as we go back to green in Toronto.
I'm telling you right now, Newgarden having a clear track, he can run flat out, not have anybody in front of him. This might not hurt him that bad, because if he can rip off a bunch of fast laps as these guys are all fighting each other and start playing around with fuel mileage, this actually could play pretty well for him.
Pagenaud defends on the inside from his Team Penske teammate Will Power. Bourdais will be dangerous in 5th. He's going to be a contender today.
Ooh, Pagenaud blocking his Penske teammate there going to turn 5.
Tell you what, we talked about this last year. These Penske guys all fighting for the championship, racing each other hard. This could be a problem. Dixon out front, this is exactly what he wants to have happen.
Look at Hinchcliffe blocking Montoya.
Whoa. By the way, speaking of Montoya in the 2, no action taken from race control of the stewards for the contact between himself and Joseph Newgarden. Up front, Scott Dixon continues to lead from the man in the yellow submarine, Helio Castroneves, who feels he can still be a championship contender with, after today, 5 races remaining on the schedule. Look at the margin they've put between themselves and 3rd place Simon Pagenaud. You're watching CNBC's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by United Rentals. Offers equipment rental services, provider of IndyCar, and proud sponsor of Graham Rahal. Racing on the streets of Toronto, the Verizon IndyCar Series, Scott Dixon from Target Team Ganassi continues to be the race leader. However, this man on screen, Juan Pablo Montoya, is the man on the move. Got by Joseph Newgarden, questionable circumstances, has got by James Hinchcliffe, and is on the charge.
Yeah, Montoya has just absolutely grabbed this race by the neck, and I think totally determined to deliver a strong result after so much bad luck, as you said. And it's really like a guy who's driving as a rookie on a one-year contract. And let's see what's going on earlier. Big crash ball.
Yeah, he had to touch the inside wall in practice and pounded the outside wall. Nearly destroyed that car. It took the team all night to fix the car. They made some adjustments to the wall a little bit, moved it back, but he is back on a mission right now. I'll tell you who's on a mission. The guy he clipped, Joseph Newgarden, is the fastest car on the track by a half a second over Dixon, and he's got to make it happen.
Well, he's got that clean air, and he's charging hard like Montoya. Kevin Lee, what do you know about Montoya for next year?
You know, there's been a lot of conversation. Soon to turn 41. Some people in the paddock think he might be ready to move on. So I asked him point blank, and he was adamant. In fact, he was kind of glad I asked him. He said, no, I still want to drive, and I want to drive Indy cars. Now, Roger Penske also has a vote in that, and if they decide they don't want me back, I'll find something else to do. But from my perspective, I want it known I still love driving Indy cars, and I want to be back next season.
Well, the sands of time, Father Time, don't stop. And when you get to be, I know as well as anybody, when you get to be up in your 40s and you're not having a great season, it becomes harder to put a deal together, especially at the highest level. So,
well, especially when you have so much hot young talent coming through IndyCar, like Joseph Newgarden, who just set the fastest lap of the race. He's got that clean air in front, and he's also got the clean air, but plenty of anger for sure after the issue.
Set the fastest lap of the race for the 5th lap in a row. Let's just listen to some radio from just a few moments ago.
Tire pressures look all right. I haven't touched anything. Missing a bumper pod. Someone must have hit it off. Combo hit. How the hell did he hit my bumper? Went down the backstretch there.
There you go. He didn't even feel it.
Yeah, pretty calm, and he never even felt the touch. So this guy never gets phased. He never gets upset. He just gets down to business. And right now, he's turning the fastest laps, and that's exactly what he needs to do to put himself in position later with this different strategy.
Riding with Graham Rahal. He was forced to come to the pits not once but twice early in this race, involved in an incident with Ryan Hunter-Reay and Charlie Kimball, and Graham runs down in 19th at the moment.
You see Graham's in traffic here. He just ran a 103.2, and Newgarden is a 101.2. So Newgarden is going 2 seconds a lap quicker than these cars that are in this group right here.
That revised final corner, and Ryan Hunter-Reay told me you'll see the first wall and then there's a secondary wall further down the road. Hunter-Reay told me this morning it's almost like a 3D experience. That first part of that wall looks like it's coming at you. Said it's quite a visual distraction. Let's talk about the man who leads this championship though, Jan.
Yes, you can see some daylight behind him and daylight in front. He's lost a little contact with his teammate Castro Neves, has said on the radio, I'm picking up some understeer at the moment on the Reds, and that is the issue that he had yesterday and this morning in the warm-up. He said, my car was great on Friday, so we're going back to the Friday setup. Understeer again, right here, when you bend it into this kind of corner, you go across the patch, the front not working the way he wants right now. That is something he can fix during the pit stop.
Simon Pagenaud runs in 3rd, but he is some 3.5 seconds behind Castro Neves as Tony Kanaan hits the pit road first.
And Tony Kanaan has been reporting some oversteer, so the opposite of what we were reporting for Simon Pagenaud. So he's a little loose. They can make that with a change. Of course, he changed to the Firestone black sidewall. Though there's the primary tire. That may be faster in these conditions.
And that pretty much commits Kanaan to a 3-stop strategy. And I think you'll see most of your leaders try to hang on till about lap 26 or so. Newgarden coming up behind Kanaan.
Yeah, he's got to try to get by him here and keep his momentum going, because if he gets stuck behind, that's going to cause a problem. But as we see all the battling going on here, 15th, 16th, 17th, Rossi battling with the Target Chip Ganassi car, Foyt's car.
And this is the part of the race, Paul, where we see the crossover in tire compound. Rossi started on reds, Kimball on blacks, and Kimball now has the advantage. The red, the softer tire, is starting to fall away. This is the halfway point in the stint where the blacks probably are the advantage.
Yes, and those red sidewall tires are working for Kimball. Remember, he was sideways in the racetrack, but they got him onto pit road and got that car repaired. He did not lose a lap, so that is for position. He has newer tires, and of course, as you said, he's going for it against Rossi.
Racing lap 18 18 of this 85-lap Indy Toronto event, and nobody has headed Scott Dixon, who boasts almost a 2-second lead now over Team Penske's Helio Castro-Neves. Pagenaud is third, Power is fourth, and Sebastian Bourdais remains in the top 5. Look at this here inside. Graham Rahal thought about it on Marco Andretti and then thought twice at turn 3. That's what that gap looks like. Dixon over Castro-Neves. It's come down about a 10th or 2, but it's almost a 2-second lead. Dixon in control in Canada.
Nice job with Andretti. He was really holding us up.
The open wheel action continues here on your Motorsport weekend. The Championship continues with here, and it's a place where Lewis Hamilton loves, because once at times between himself and his Mercedes teammate, things are tight. There's 1 point in that championship chase as Ryan Hunter-Reay, whose day got off to the well, a tricky and frustrating start with that altercation with Charlie Kimball and Graham Rahal. He's just left pit road.
Looks like Hawksworth just left pit lane. Jan?
Well, it's a good time to take a look at the pit windows for today. And these that are stopping now, you'll see it's 23, the opening of the pit window. We're on lap 21. That's a bit early. So if you see someone like Ryan Hunter-Reay deciding to stop, he does have a Honda that's got great fuel economy, but he probably would want to have waited 23, 24, 25 before you made that stop. So what he's banking on some caution. Look for the leaders to wait, again, maybe around 25. If you pit at 23, you kind of force yourself into fuel save, and they don't want to do that.
Pace at the front right now. We look at these top 5 guys who are all running in the 101s now, and you wonder why these guys are the fast guys. There's 137 wins between the top 5 guys from Bourdais to Dixon. And this is why they get paid the big bucks, T-Bell.
Well, it's all of that experience. That's what gets you the qualifying spots. That's what gets you the race pace. And in Scott Dixon's case, he's so consistent. His team, I think about 2 years ago, they really started to nail the race setup to where they just managed the tire wear so exceptionally well. And here we are deep into the first stint on the Firestone Reds. And remember, those were probably used to start from qualifying, and they're just managing pace. I gotta say, the guy I'm really impressed with the last few races is Helio Castro-Neves. Pagenaud and Power, his teammates. Montoya, usually the ones we talk about the most on the road and street circuits. And Castro-Neves has had the measure of those boys all weekend.
And he hasn't won in 2 seasons. He's been searching for that win. He's been a bridesmaid a bunch of times, but he has not gotten to the winner's circle. And you could see the frustration yesterday in qualifying. When he got beat for the pole, he was like gutted over it.
Takuma Sato there pitting from the 12th position for the ABC supply car of AJ Foyt Racing. Incidentally, AJ is here today in Toronto.
Was on an elevator this morning. On my right was AJ Foyt. On my left was a Chihuahua. And that was an interesting ride.
And what was the conversation like?
The Chihuahua was being held by the ABC supply guy as we see the ABC teammates going at it here as Sato comes out of the pits. But AJ's what a great character. I just love it. The few precious seconds I've spent around AJ. He's a lot of fun.
So difficult to tell those two cars apart. Their helmets are the same, the cars are identical, but look at this guy. He's starting to stretch it out on Castroneves. Castroneves has left his teammate, and it's another 4 or 5 seconds from power to Pagano.
Good job out there.
That's Roger Penske coming on, asking Castroneves, how's your car? And he's happy.
And Elio, not in a negative way, he's just building it into his own psychological 2016 profile, if you wish. He feels he's been owed a few this year, PT. He feels where he's jigged, he should have jagged, where the team has asked him to pin, perhaps should have stayed out. He's been the victim of some misfortune. So, and as you know all too well, luck can come back your way.
Well, we look at these two guys right here. We talk about, you're going to see a wild race with the mad Russian and the crazy Colombian. When these two get together, look out, because there could be fireworks.
Mikhail Aloshin ahead of Juan Pablo Montoya. You're talking about the fight for 6th. Montoya there in 7th. Hinchcliffe's getting a good view of him in 8th. Connor Daly has worked his way up to 9th. And then Luca Filippi, the Italian, is back in the series, perhaps just for this sole race.
Filippi had such a great result last year, finishing 2nd. You know, looking at Montoya's right front wing, that vertical arrow piece is just a little bit bent and flapping around. I would imagine that might hurt his front downforce through a fast section like turn 2 here. We'll see if they add downforce. The Penske team does on Montoya's first stop. Lap 24 right now, so we're
down the straightaway. That outside winglet is bent over a little bit, so that will hurt the downforce, but it doesn't seem to be hurting his motivation because he's been pushing forward and making passes.
And this is where we're going to start to see the leaders pit. We're entering that first fuel window, lap 25. Big slide from Aloshin as he comes through turn 6.
Scott Dixon, 2.8 seconds now out in front of Elio Castroneves. Actually, make that 3 seconds. And there, look, diving to pit lane. There's James Hinchcliffe. Katie?
Hometown hero James Hinchcliffe is pretty happy with his car right now. They're just going to go from red Firestone tires to blacks and no balance changes, Kevin.
Mikhail Aloshin having a good run. A week after finishing 5th at Iowa, he's running 6th coming in. He's going from the Ultimates to the primary Firestones, and Aloshin back out with a good stop.
Oh! Castroneves with a flat left front. I'm going to guess that's contact, Paul, when it cuts like that.
It's he's either hit something or the tire is flat spotted and gone right through to the cord. But Roger looking on, this is really going to hurt his race. So drive around with a flat front tire. Let's see if we've got a replay of this. Locks it up. It's locked.
It was already
flat, so it was flat on the straightaway.
I wonder if that was debris that he must have gone over. That's rare without contact for a tire to fail.
Or did he clip the wall at turn 2 before he got onto the back straight onto Lakeshore Boulevard?
Quite possible.
Jan Beekes is standing by.
And of course, this will be 40 miles an hour. They lower the speed limit here because of how tricky this pit lane is. He's going to lose significant track position, of course, but with a caution, he might be able to make that up. So they're obviously get these changed, and they'll look carefully. I'm looking over the shoulder of the crew. I don't see any damage or any marks. It looks like contact. So I think you guys are right. It must have been debris on course. No marks on the car whatsoever.
So after that rear pod of Newgarden's car was left out in the middle there, and they had that, we had a full course yellow, but the Holmatro safety team went out there to grab it, and the corner workers, maybe there was a bit that was left out there.
Here comes your leader.
Here comes Scott Dixon around that curve. Everyone is relishing the opportunity to pit in these tight 35-foot boxes under green. It's a clean entry in. He's going from the reds to the blacks as we watch Will Power come right in front of him. 8.4 seconds, Dixon's away, and now Will Power, who's moved up to third in this race before the stops, is in making his change to the primaries. A lot of teams are telling me they think this is a race for the primaries. The blacks, you might see the next 2 stints done on blacks for those that started on reds.
Power rejoins behind Charlie Kimball. Kimball's in 9th position as his personal fight goes on. Pagenaud inherits the race lead for the moment. We ride with Power.
The alternate strategy guys have now cycled ahead of the leaders, so this is a problem for Power because he was out front making good lap time. Now he's got to battle with guys further back in the pack that are on an alternate strategy. Pagenaud has not yet pitted. He's in the pits now.
And Joseph Newgarden, you can hear him leaving, so now that's going to be a clear pit for Simon Pagenaud. He's been complaining of understeer. They're going to change from the Firestone red sidewalls to the black. That's Kyle Moyer on the radio. So they may not need to make changes here because they're changing the type of tire. Waiting on fuel. Wow, that's a fast one. Just over 7 seconds for Simon Pagenaud.
Here comes Power. A little further back. Power's got by Kimball. Has he? No, he hasn't. He's still behind Kimball.
Guys, Simon Pagenaud just crossed the pit exit line with shades of Long Beach, and I wonder if that's going to be reviewed. There's a white line that extends off of the pit wall exit that the drivers have been told to stay to the left of.
And they were given specifics in the drivers' meeting, Townsend. As you know, you may not touch that line. It's not crossing the line. If you touch that line, it will be reviewed, and potentially when we get a replay, we'll see if there's clear visual evidence. They said they're going to come down on them. Katie?
And Sebastian Bourdais has cycled his way to the lead here on the streets of Toronto, and the team asked him how's the car. He's just kind of laughed and said, hey, it's pretty good. So we're going to go from no changes, just from Firestone blacks to Firestone reds filled up with Sunoco fuel. Ken?
Juan Montoya has raced his way from 9th up to 2nd. He legitimately was running 6th or 7th, but cycled up through the sequence. He's going to the primaries. These are slightly scuffed Firestones, and a really good stop for Montoya, who had a clean entrance and exit.
You see that white line that we're talking about back here? There's a line right down there that they are not allowed to touch, not even touch it with your wheels. So if we can get a replay of Pagenaud, you can see that line right here on the pit exit.
It was a pretty long shot, but I'm quite certain that we saw him cross that line. We'll see how or if Indycar reviews that and does anything. Look at this, Hinch, Kanan coming, Kanan on the button. Here's Hinch and his teammate, Aloshin.
And Mikhail Aloshin had just received a warning for lane usage. How he is,
oh, talk about tight quarters there.
How he's managing his car on track and what kind of conduct he is keeping. This is Connor Daly for Dale Coyne Racing.
And Connor Daly led for a lap as he just has to avoid Alexander Rossi coming to pit lane.
That's the in and out move. Rossi coming in, he's coming out. Tight quarters in the pit lane. We've got all the guys that are running in the middle of the pack now that are on alternate strategy, making their stops. The guy who has checked out now is Dixon. With Castro Neves' problem, he has a 7-second lead on Pagenaud, but only 3 on Philippi. Philippi is yet to pit.
So Dixon, Luca Filippi, as Paul mentioned, Simon Pagenaud, Charlie Kimball, who was also yet to pit. He was involved in that incident on the opening lap.
Flat tire. I think Munoz hit the wall on the exit of turn 2, and he's got a flat tire now. He got wide, and it looked like he brushed the wall. The outside rear tire looks flat now.
Left rear, you think, Paul?
Yeah.
See if you can make it home.
No.
Something happened there right on the exit.
Okay, bring it slow. See if you can make it back.
Front left doesn't look right to me. All right, let's take you back and show you that Simon Pagenaud pit exit.
We're looking at that line right there.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
He's
here's
over
the
it.
question. Is that a patch or is that a white line? On a second look, it almost looks like it's a filler. I can't tell if that's the painted white line or just one of the patch jobs around Toronto.
Well, he certainly drove it right out into the middle of the track. His trajectory was coming out at an angle. Looked to me like he crossed two wheels over that line.
So, just like Long Beach, we're told that it's a warning for Simon Pagenaud. No action. That's consistent with the rule book. The officials have that option to deliver a warning. Kanaan going rodeo style on Connor Daly.
To fight to be in the top 10. And this has been an impressive performance again this weekend on a street circuit for Connor Daly. Remember Detroit, where the young American picked up his very first Verizon IndyCar Series podium result. Race leader continues to be the team target, Chip Ganassi car of Scott Dixon. He's won here in Toronto twice before and looking good in the opening half of this one. Toronto continues, and in a dominant fashion, Scott Dixon has control of this race by how much? Almost 8 seconds. His car is clean, his pace is good, he's just been smooth, and that's why this guy is in the top 5 all-time winners in the history of IndyCar.
He's setting the pace. He's now making the fuel mileage he wants. He's not under any pressure from anybody. You'll see the top 4 guys here from 2nd to 4th running pretty close, and now we see Montoya has gotten by Lotion, and he's now wanting to close down that gap to his teammates.
I mean, it's pretty impressive when you think about the damage that Castroneves minimized, right? He did a great job to salvage his car, limping back to the pits with that flat tire, and he comes out. I mean, to be 6th place right now, pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's pretty lucky it didn't happen going into turn 1 and had to limp all the way around the track, but he got the flat down at the end of the back straightaway. And luckily, he hustled it in quick enough on a flat tire, as we see Marco Andretti.
And this guy's been getting pretty racy. He's at the back of the field, but he hasn't stopped trying to advance. He made a heck of a pass earlier on Spencer Pickett at the back, and now he's trying to make up precious ground.
He's got something broken in the front. I saw something in the suspension waving around on the outside there.
There is.
See that?
Yeah.
We can see in the front suspension on the right side, there's something flapping around in there.
Almost looks like the wing support of the front flap might be loose behind the wing.
Oh, it's the covering for the A-arm. It's the carbon fiber covering that goes over
the lower wishbone.
A-arm. Yeah, you see that there.
It's down here, and that you're absolutely right. That's an aerodynamic piece.
It's Team Penske doing the chasing. Simon Pagenaud, Will Power in 2nd and 3rd. It's Chip Ganassi's man, Scott Dixon, out in front, and easily so. An IndyCar series here on your home of motorsport. Lee Diffie, Townsend Bell, Paul Tracy with you as Scott Dixon races lap 39 of this 85 lap race, and while he still boasts a commanding lead, he did lose some time to Simon Pagenaud, whether that be Scott going into kind of economy mode or whether he made some kind of an error, but it did come down by a good chunk, and it continues to.
He's coming up to lap now. These guys running at the back, Newgarden, Hunter Ray, these guys are all racing each other, so it's not going to be an easy job for him to get by them because they're busy racing themselves, and that could allow Pagenaud and Power to close that gap.
I think for sure it will, Paul. That last lap, Pagenaud about 0.6 of a second faster. As we take a look at the Chevy driver profile here, Sebastian Bourdais, 35 wins. What a career it's been, 33 poles, and look at the laps led.
It's incredible. The 37-year-old Frenchman who was called the U.S. home for many, many years, lives in St. Pete in Florida, and loves this track, loves the Toronto street layout. He's won twice here. Would like to do it again today, but I'm not sure that he's quite out the pace as our man who is leading the way as we ride with Joseph Newgarden.
These guys, when Dixon gets to them, they are not going to be that inclined to let him by to go a lap down. So they're going to fight as hard as possible to stay on the lead lap and stay in the fight and hope for a yellow so they can cycle back around. But this is going to be a tricky situation for Dixon.
We understand that Dixon was just told to start saving a little bit of fuel, and by doing so, that'll open up his pit window for his final stop. Now Newgarden probably on the button, going around Hunter-Reay to the outside. What happens at the brake zone?
Well, he knows Dixon is coming around to lap him. Hunter-Reay does not want to give it up. He's fighting back on the inside. They nearly touch, but this guy knows now, oh, geez, look who's behind me. I got to go.
Yeah.
He was sitting back a couple seconds behind Hunter-Reay, and now all of a sudden he stepped on the gas and said it's time to go.
And tell you what, that fuel economy mode, that fuel save mode from Dixon, and now catching some traffic, that's brought Simon Pagenaud to within 4.2 seconds. I said not long ago it was nearly 8 seconds.
And not only is Dixon saving fuel, but now I believe this lap you'll see the gap come down tremendously. Hunter-Reay's last lap time a 1:04, Pagenaud a 1:01, 3 seconds a lap quicker. Here comes Simon Pagenaud.
There he is, top of your screen. The championship leader to the tune of 73 points gets this race complete. He's just 5 more Verizon IndyCar races away from becoming a champion. It's becoming closer and closer. It's getting closer and closer to becoming a reality. Dixon on Hunter-Reay, look at the back.
Dixon, he makes him go to the outside. So Hunter-Reay fighting to keep his lead, stay on the lead lap. He's not making it easy for him.
You guys had mentioned that Tony Kanaan was going to be stuck on a 3-stop strategy. That's exactly what is happening. So he's going to lose significant track position because we've stayed green.
I'm telling you what, this is a big problem. Hunter-Reay is really fighting to stay on the lead lap. He kind of chopped the nose of Dixon in between 5 and 6. He made a mistake and made it really difficult for Dixon to get by. We'll see what happens when we get to the Lakeshore Boulevard again. But look at the gap that Newgarden's already pulled in a lap.
Katie, what you got?
Ryan Hunter-Reay just came over the radio to his team and said it's getting really sketchy out here. The track is coming up in turn 5.
Look how close Simon Pagenaud is. Dixon lights it up out of 2. There's Pagenaud. Pagenaud's only 1.7 seconds behind.
6 seconds he's taken out of Dixon just in the last 3 laps. The lap traffic causing all kinds of headaches. There goes Newgarden around Piggott.
That's his teammate from Ed Carpenter Racing. Piggott made that easy for Newgarden.
Newgarden's got to stay on the lead lap, so he knows it's time to go. But this is a big problem, like I said, for Dixon. He's got to get by Hunter-Reay.
Jan?
For Simon Pagenaud, you can see that gap closing down. Remember, he stopped 1 lap later than Scott Dixon. So if the radio call to Dixon is to save a little fuel, that's not going to be the case for Simon Pagenaud. That extra lap now is paying dividends. He can stay on it.
And frustrating for Scott Dixon. You put all that work in to build the gap and start to manage your race, and now you're in a battle.
Well, guy never loses his cool. Even though you get a little bit frustrated, he'll be on the radio to his team and saying, hey, this guy's a lap down. He's got to give me a break here. But Hunter-Reay is like, hey, I'm still on the lead lap. I got to try to make this happen. As he comes sideways off the corner, Hunter-Reay, Dixon will probably get a run here and use some push to pass.
And it's not just Simon Pagenaud, guys, coming into the picture. Look further back. You'll pick up the silver Verizon car of Will Power.
Making him go to the outside again. He blocks the inside. He's on push to pass.
Yellow.
Ooh, now what do you do?
That's what Hunter-Reay was waiting for. He didn't want to give up that lap. If he'd have given up that lap, now he's a lap down. So he just got the break he needed.
Just waiting for the reason as to why this is a full course caution.
We're going to get a full course caution pit stop exchange. So this is tight quarters. This is when mistakes can happen, when everybody's in the pit at the same time.
Guys, do you remember Katie's report about the track reportedly coming up in turn 5? Maybe it's about that. We'll follow this story during the break. Stay with us. More from Toronto when we come back. The race is on.
debris on the racetrack. I think it's the racetrack coming apart somewhere. That's what they're talking about. So what?
Great to have you with us from Toronto Indy, where the field is compressed behind the Honda Civic safety car once again, and the whole Matro safety crew out there. They're in turn 3 at the moment. The major problem is in turn 5. As we went to the break, we said perhaps it's track breakup, and you saw it during that last break right there.
And luckily, the new asphalt curb in turn 5 is starting to come apart. Now this section, this old section here, is all concrete. So what they've done is put an asphalt curb on top of a concrete section. Paul, tell us a little bit about what they're dealing with.
It's like trying to weld aluminum to steel. The two properties don't stick together very well. So it's the guys are pounding over that curb. The bottoms of the cars are hitting that curb, and it's just chunking the asphalt right off the concrete.
Not quite sure what the solution's going to be there, as it looks like the pits are still closed. Nope, they're open. Here comes Connor Daly.
And James Hinchcliffe, who seemed to be ailing somewhat.
That's exactly right, Lee. James Hinchcliffe has been struggling with the rear of the car, so the team is going to make a tire pressure adjustment and a front wing adjustment. Fill him up with Sunoco fuel, send him back out. You also see Connor Daly and Ryan Hunter-Ray. Kevin?
Will Powers' Verizon team had tires over the wall. I think they're waiting to see what Scott Dixon did. He didn't come in, Jan.
That's the exact same thing that happened for Simon Pagenaud. They laid out. You'll see that Joseph Newgarden is taking the opportunity to stop here again. He's back in the order. Why not take a risk? So what you saw the leaders put their tires out to cover themselves just in case Scott Dixon pitted. I wouldn't have wanted to stop now if I was a leader, and in fact, they decided the same. Stay out. It's not within the pit window right now.
Well, for all of these guys that just pit, now what you do is you get on the radio and you say you have to fix that curb. It needs to be patched. And we're watching Mike Hall with Scott Dixon. They don't want it. They don't want it to be an extended yellow. They want to pit under normal circumstances. But for Connor Daly, that Dale Coyne team, Joseph Newgarden, if this thing goes 10 laps of yellow, they're sitting pretty.
The two guys sitting alongside Mike Hull, Travis Jacobson, Chris Simmons. The experience that trio has in motorsport is invaluable. And they don't just handle IndyCar racing here. They have a lot of great sports car endurance experience behind them. It's time to go to work, get the hardware out.
Howard has radioed in, and I think that curve has kind of a sharp edge. So he wanted to cut some time this year.
From executive producer LeBron James, Cleveland entrepreneurs get the chance to compete for their shot at success. Cleveland Hustles series premiere Wednesday, August 24th. We welcome you back to Toronto, where things have taken a slower turn of pace due to some track repair. Track, that asphalt curbing starting to come apart. There it is right there. It has been kind of flattened and smoothed the best way possible for the quickest fix. What do you do here, guys? If you're in the cockpit, do you continue to ride that curb? You want to go around it? You want to straddle it? What do you do?
I think you stay off of it now. You try to avoid it as much as possible. I think all the teams will tell everybody, hey, avoid that curb. It could cause damage to the bottom of the car, could cut a tire. So if the guys avoid it, it might not come up more.
Kev, what do you got?
Well, not only has Scott Dixon lost once an 8-second lead with this caution, it was 4 or 5 seconds before lap traffic came into play. He radioed in during this caution, I'm losing the rear tires a little bit in this stint. So this restart would be really interesting.
And it is interesting that you say that, Kevin, because that real nice shot that we've got, that low shot coming out of turn 2, Dixon has continually been lighting it up on acceleration out of there. So what appeared to be a race well and truly under Scott Dixon's control may have taken a turn. We will see.
Lee, one thing we have to watch for, a ton of pickup on Dixon's tires, and I imagine most of this field. So this restart's going to be a handful after that long yellow.
Ready to go now. Honda Civic safety car off course. Ready to roll with a couple of Team Penske machines in his mirrors. Scott Dixon is going to see that green flag first. Let's go back to racing north of the border.
Nice start from Dixon. He pulled a little bit of a gap, but pickup is a problem here. You really slide. The tires are really slipping, sliding here. Power's looking to make a move. He'll be on push to pass. He's right there on the back of Pagano.
PT, you think Power still remembers the move? Pagano stuck on him coming out of 3. He's not close enough here, but everybody is on the button. As you hear Tim Cindric say it, look at Montoya looking to the outside of Bourdais.
Bourdais takes that inside line. Look further back. Aloshin is under siege from Carlos Munoz. Went deep on the brakes. Charlie Kimball wants some of the action as well.
Lock up from Montoya as he gets in.
And they're not going to stop using that curve, Paul. It's just driving too much of a distance. So that curve is probably going to be an issue as we have about 34 laps to go and about 4 or 5 laps, I think, until we'll see Scott Dixon pit.
Down the inside,
Luca Filippi
touches. Sato barely gets into the back of him. He was committed and locked up.
Great job to get out of it and avoid more contact than that.
On board Graham Rahal.
This outside move by Rossi trying to look on the outside of Filippi. Filippi gets sideways coming off the corner.
Scrambling for position here. One of the key overtaking points, Joseph Newgarden down the inside of Hinchcliffe.
Hinchcliffe has been struggling with rear tires. He's been lacking rear grip. He's been on the radio. He's been falling back through the field since the start. So not a great day for the Canadian, which will be a huge disappointment for him.
Kimball on the button and Aloshin on the button. They stay in order, but look at this. Filippi still locked up, and that's Rahal inside of Rossi.
Round goes Graham Rahal. Position gain, contact further back. Look at
heavy
this on
blocking
the inside.
here. Heavy blocking. That's got to be called for a penalty. He ran Munoz all the way over the curb.
That was Marco Andretti.
Wow.
Pretty evasive action. He was doing some stadium super truck line there. He's still fighting back.
Through goes Joseph Newgarden as well. Grabbed another position away from Marco Andretti. So that's 2 in the 1 lap. Newgarden up to 14th now, chasing out after Tony Kanaan. Dixon leads by 2 seconds, so that is a very productive restart, 2 laps.
Have a look at this again. Tony Kanaan approaching turn 3, gets wide. There's a little contact between Rossi and Rahal. Now he gets checked up by Rossi.
Here comes Andretti on the inside, is he?
Right over the
And there goes Marco.
Right over the curbs.
They were 3 wide, and that poor curb is going to be even more abused than it already was.
Rossi He got checked up by Rossi, and then he decided to make a move, and Marco was already there. He goes on top of the curb. Marco takes the avoidance line, the SST line. That's some serious racing in the streets of Toronto.
And I don't think Kanaan blocked. It was just that he was trying to avoid Rossi and make a move.
No penalty there. He was trying to make a move on this car right in front of him, so he's right back after him.
And Marco had nowhere to go either. Dixon, Pagenaud, Power, Bourdais, Montoya. That's your top 5. Elio Castro Neves runs in 6th. There is Elio. Right behind Carlos Munoz. Then Aloshin and Kimball.
And this is where Scott Dixon is going to make lap time if he can. Pit stops are approaching. We're a lap or 2 from Scott Dixon pitting, and he wants to open up that gap for a green flag pit stop.
32 laps to go. Oh, some debris there.
That's
on track.
Hunter-Reay, I would guess. So Hunter-Reay had contact well before turn 3.
Yeah.
Whoa, Lotion inside, outside, trying to make a move. But this right now, the guys that pitted under that yellow, when these guys come to the pits in a couple laps, that's advantage to them to be back out front.
And I think Dixon wants to stretch it as long as he can to ensure that he doesn't get caught by a yellow, right? If you pit under green and then the yellow comes out.
No one diving for the lane on this time round. No Dixon, no Pagenaud, no Power.
There he is.
What's that margin? It's exactly 2 seconds. Dixon to Pagenaud. Fight is on at the top. The top guys in the championship. Team Penske's Elio Castro Neves in the Pennzoil Chevy has just pitted for what should be the final time in this race as we welcome you back to coverage of Indy Toronto. It's race 11 of the 2016 championship. Sebastian Bourdais, he dives for pit lane. He's just been in a pretty fierce battle with Juan Pablo Montoya, and actually Montoya got the better of him to move up into 4th place. Here's Bourdais.
Sebastian Bourdais has been extremely happy with this car all day. In the second and final pit stop, he'll go for no changes, just from the reds to the Firestone blacks, and he's down and away, Lee.
So there we go, last one for Bourdais, last one for Ryan Hunter-Reay, last one for Connor Daly.
And they're just going with a splash of fuel for Connor Daly, no tires. So that'll put him at the back of the pack as Hunter-Reay takes tires and fuel.
So they're done, or should be done, for the remainder of the race. And this is what I was alluding to a little earlier. Down Lakeshore Boulevard to turn 3, Montoya on the left, Bourdais on the right. And there's been a crash. It's Joseph Newgarden.
Let's see if a yellow comes out. It has to.
He's hurt. His hand is down, and you can tell he's hurt.
Oh, big break for Power to get in here.
And Tim Cindric had just made the call of hit, and it was a quick call. They jumped over the wall, so I didn't have a view on the monitor to see if he saw the contact or if that was just luck. But Power makes his final stop, and no problem with fuel because he's going to get some yellow laps.
Where is Castro Neves and all? That's a big hit, Paul.
That's a big hit, and I could tell by the look in his eye that he hurt his hand because his visor was up, and you could see the pain in his eyes. He hits the curb, loses the wheel right out of his hand. The same thing that happened to Connor Daly this morning. He hits the curb, jerks the steering wheel right out of his hand, clobbers the wall, and as we saw the side shot of him sitting in the car, you could see that he was in pain. Look at this, Townsend. He hits the curb, and it just yanks that steering wheel right out of his hands.
And you gotta think his hand's just exhausted from hanging on.
Totally.
And just nothing you can do. And we saw Connor Daly lose it in morning warm-up with a fresh hand.
You can
and
see,
look at Newgarden.
He hasn't gotten out of the car because he's probably not capable of lifting himself out right now. Needs some help to get out.
Ah, he's furious. You have to feel for him. Nothing he can do there.
This is at turn 5, the same corner where that damaged curb, that broken curbing was lifting away. And
you can see here, look at the wrist. He's favoring the wrist, and look at the eyes.
That hurts.
And guys, this is really bad news for Scott Dixon, right? Scott Dixon's going to pit under yellow and cycle back while Castro Neves and Power will be at the front. Just bad luck.
I was just going to say, yes, Townsend. Castro Neves had just pitted, and remember, it's Roger Penske who's been bit by pit strategy the last few races, but today for Castro Neves, they got on just in time, and as you said, along with Will Power. This is not what Scott Dixon wants. This is going to drop him back in the order. Kevin?
So Scott Dixon will lead the charge down as we watch Roger Penske overseeing soon Helio Castroneves pit stop. Dixon will be coming down the pit lane in just a moment at 40 miles per hour. He will have to go around Juan Pablo Montoya's tires, but he is going to have an easy out.
And also your championship leader, Pagano. He's probably going to come to pit lane, so this could have big point implications for Pagano.
And at Detroit, the captain
They are open. We will pit.
The captain rolled the dice a couple of times at Detroit and lost positions for Castro Neves, and it's paid off this time big time. And here comes Dixon and Pagano and Montoya.
Tell us more, Kev.
Scott Dixon, the leader, is going to get to his spot first. As mentioned, he'll get a pretty easy in, not that easy, around the Montoya tires. Montoya ducks in right behind him. Pagano going up to the front of pit road. They are going to the primary blacks for the final stint. Dixon is going to beat out Montoya.
And we have Simon Pagano. He's going to go with a sticker set of blacks. They'll lose track position, but here comes Scott Dixon. That's close, but he gets just ahead of a couple other cars. But Dixon first out of pit road. But remember, they will lose significant track position to those who had already stopped, but now they'll be on the charge.
Great stop. Charlie Kimball, too, as well, to be able to leapfrog Juan Pablo Montoya. Showing you who gained, who lost on this, what should be final stop of the race.
Tell you what, Dixon now is out P13 with 15 laps to go. That's a pretty tall order to get back to Kanaan and Power.
Now several guys, Paul, are going to have to stop. Kanaan's going to be our leader on the restart, but we don't think he can make it to the finish. Hinch, Sato, Piggott, I think they're all going to have to stop for a splash, as this is our leader right now.
Remember, Tony Kanaan kind of committed to that 3-stop strategy very early on in this race. He leads for the time being, though. Still under caution here in Toronto as we welcome you back. The closing stages of Indy Toronto, and a race that could see a significant swing in the championship point scenario and story. We're under yellow if you're just joining us for Joseph Newgarden of Ed Carpenter Racing. Second in the championship, driving injured and maybe more injured with that sore hand, that broken hand that is still healing. For Will Power here, who sits second after getting into the pits just at the right time. It could be the winning time.
Watch Will Power hit the road under green flag conditions just before the yellow flag comes out. And looking for the flashing yellow lights right there on the steering wheel, upper left, upper right. That's tied in with race control. He's clearly in the pits before the yellow comes on. That could be the winning move.
So he was running for the majority of the race in third or around there in the top 5, chasing down Dixon and Pagenaud, and you've got to go all the way back down the order to pick up Scott Dixon and Simon Pagenaud in 13th and 14th respectively. The change in points, remember Pagenaud came in here with a 73-point advantage. That would be reduced as they run right now by more than 20. Jan?
Well, we now look at the chart to see who we think can make it to the end of the race. And right now, Tony Kanaan is short, and I think he's about 4 laps short. However, every lap of yellow is helping 3 drivers, Hinchcliffe, Sato, and Piggott. If we get a few more laps of caution, they may not need to come in and make a final stop. They could go on super fuel save and try and make it to the end. But Tony Kanaan, if he tries to make it, he's going to be slow. Power should be able to pounce right on him.
Watch for Will Power perhaps to go on the attack on this restart, ready to go racing again. The Canadian hero James Hinchcliffe is in third. They'll see the green right here. Let's go with 23 to go in Toronto.
There seemed to be no urgency of Power. He's going to try to set him up in turn 1. Piggott locks up. Don't run down the runoff when you got a good position. But Power, if I'm him, I want to make quick work of Tony Kanaan and control the pace at the front, because he's got a nice buffer to Castro Neves, who's on the same strategy.
This is where the push to passes start to get used pretty liberally. Power, Hinchcliffe, Sato all used the push to pass, but none of them were close enough to make a move. And here's Hunter Ray going to the outside of Connor Daly.
This is the problem that Dixon's going to have. He's got these guys racing each other like crazy, and you can get caught up in somebody's wreck and really hurt your championship.
Well, I'll tell you what, Scott Dixon, and this race is far from over, but Dixon's going to feel like this is one that got away.
It was amazing. He dominated qualifying in amazing fashion, controlled the race, had an 8-second lead, and then one bad call, not pitting. The yellow comes out, and he couldn't be looking at being outside the top 10.
Yeah, the question I have is why weren't the Ganassi team the first to pit Dixon on his last stop, and that would have protected them against exactly what we saw, an untimely yellow. Now, watch these guys. All of this pattern coming out of turn 2.
Something wrong with Castro Neves there. He's got the whole train backed up there. Something went on there because he really backed everybody up.
He's got Spencer Piggott right behind him. Here comes Michael Aloshin. Aloshin goes around the high side, the wide up Lakeshore Boulevard. Aloshin easily clears Piggott. Bourdais lining up for a shot as well as he goes around the outside.
And this is where experience counts. Spencer Piggott, a rookie, as we see more cars battle. Piggott did not use the push to pass. Everybody else did behind him, and he's getting chewed up.
I'll tell you what, Marco Andretti likes that curb. He was inside the curb, that time on top of the curb, trying to get by Piggott as well.
Whatever it takes around here. Tony Kanaan has used all but 2 push-to-passes, as we see. I believe
Dixon.
that was Marco Andretti going around Piggott.
Yeah, it was, and Dixon was lining up for a shot as well. There he is. He's gained 2 positions up to 11th from 13th at the restart. He's ahead of Connor Daly and Ryan Hunter right now. He needs to work on the Fuzzies machine of Spencer Piggott.
And as much to gain a position, it's also to defend against a whole pack of crazies. Look at Hunter Ray back there making a move. Here comes Ryan Hunter Ray.
Simon Pagenaud, championship leader, there he is. Won Pablo Montoya back in 16. He's shown much greater pace to that. It's just about this most recent yellow and the round of stops and who came early and who didn't.
On the push to pass on the outside, he clears Connor Daly. Now he's got to get by Ryan Hunter Ray, but you've got to be so careful in this situation not to get caught up in a wreck, especially when you're leading the championship.
Guess who's got the most pushes to pass left? Will Power in second, still has 6 in tow. as we ride aboard the Honda-powered Dale Coyne entry of Connor Daly, and he fights off Charlie Kimball. Wow! Wheel to wheel through this new Titan section of the circuit to come around and finish off the lap. You could be part of Honda's fastest seat in sports sweepstakes. Go to racewithhonda.com.
I thought they said you couldn't race through that section.
Yeah.
They're side by side. Earlier in the race, I saw Marco Andretti pass a guy on the outside through there, so it's definitely been entertaining. Aloshin has closed the gap now. He's closed up to the back of Castro Neves, so he's, with the way the fuel strategy is, he's looking to try to get a top two here.
And if you're Simon Pagenaud right now, look at this. Munoz trying to go inside his teammate Alexander Rossi. If you're Simon Pagenaud, you really just have to make high percentage decisions. You're buried deep in the pack. You're the championship leader. Every point is precious right now, and Dixon is in a hurry to get by Marco Andretti.
Thought about it on the inside there on the 27, didn't he? And then thought again. It kind of looked like a little bit of a fake move and then pulled back in. So he'll be working on him next time round. You're looking here at Andretti in 9th, Dixon in 10th.
A legitimate battle for 9th. Earlier, it was Andretti trying to stay on the lead lap, but now they're on the same pit strategy. And look, there's damage to the right front end fence of Marco Andretti, but this is a legitimate battle. Marco's going to race him hard.
He's got to run here. He really got a good exit. He's on push to pass. So Marco is going to concede this position. Look, he's by him at half straightaway.
So Dixon now has 3 left after the usage of that. Hunter-Ray Pagenaud further back. It's kind of damage control from this point on for Simon Pagenaud.
The guy who set sail, Kanaan, knows he can't make it to the finish. He's pulled out nearly 4 seconds on power.
And the guy that has his fingers crossed right now, Hinchcliffe and Sato, they desperately need a yellow to be able to finish without stopping.
They both last pitted on the same lap. That was lap 47 for James Hinchcliffe and Takuma Sato. How's this one going to shake out? Stay with us. final 15 laps of Indy Toronto. And Tony Kanaan running like a rabbit because he knows he does not have enough fuel to get to the end. So trying to build the biggest possible gap and lead that he can to rejoin after getting a splash to finish with in the best possible position. Very spread out at the front. Will Power has multiple seconds over Canadian James Hinchcliffe, who runs in third at the moment to Takuma Sato and Elio Castroneves.
He's built a 12-second gap on P3 to Hinchcliffe. Power hanging tough, just biding his time. He knows he's in the driver's seat to win this race if everything goes as planned. As we're back to Dixon now, has caught Sato. Sato was making it very difficult on guys to get by.
That's Hawksworth, who was out of pushes to pass, and Dixon couldn't get it done there. That'll be frustrating for Scott.
Well, all of this racing is increasing the probability that we might get one more yellow. I know Jan Beekes has been tracking fuel mileage closely on pit lane. Jan, how many more laps of yellow would Hinchcliffe need to survive?
Well, he can have some yellow, or they can go into super fuel save. And we're seeing some of the Hondos like Sato. We're seeing those on super fuel save, and I think they might be able to make it. In other words, they reduce their pace, and they won't need more yellow. Tony Kanaan, on the other hand, leading. I think he's trying to pull a gap because he should be pitting shortly, and he wants to lose as few track positions as possible.
A lot of cars for Dixon still to pass. Even with the guys in the super fuel save, you still got to use that push to pass to get by, and sooner or later, he's going to end up running out.
Chevy driver update today gives us a look of what Chevy drivers are where. And obviously Tony Kanaan leading the way at the moment, but that may be short-lived. Will Power being the main one up the front with fuel good to go to the end.
For Tony Kanaan, this is all that he can do.
Oh, almost lost it there.
4 laps short. He's driving every lap like it's a qualifying lap, trying to build that gap so he can cycle out of the pits with a splash and maybe still be in the top 10.
This is the man you should be looking at. Will Power in the Verizon Chevy is the one with the best scenario at the moment. Then James Hinchcliffe. Can you imagine what the crowd would do if Hinch could stand on the podium at home? That'd be something special. Riding with James now.
And I don't think that he's going to be able to save fuel, Paul, with Castroneves all over the back of him.
Well, he's certainly running the car all the way up to the top of the rev lights. That's not fuel saving. You hear
there it is.
He backed way out of the throttle, coasted all the way down in the brake zone. So he is trying to save fuel, but does he have enough?
Well, another driver who was told earlier in the race to save some fuel was Ganassi Scott Dixon. That's where Kevin is.
My cold calling strategy. Scott was dominating the race, got caught out by the caution. How close were you to making that last stop, like Will Power did in being out front?
Well, first, Tim and Will made a great call there. I hope they play the lottery on their way out of town. We were 1 lap away, and we thought Pagano was too, and I think he was, and we were just trying to maintain the gap to be able to get out in front of him. Just the way it works sometimes when they close the pit lane.
Michael, by the way, I talked with Will Power before the race, and that was one of his talking points. You have to get in on that final stop as soon as you can.
You live by the sword, you die by the sword. And he was trying to maintain that gap, because if you let Pagano go 1 lap further, he could possibly leapfrog you on the outlap.
But they left themselves exposed to this guy, Castroneves, who was the first to stop. And look at this, Sato on a lotion, they touch.
Oh, into turn 3, and that's going to help Sebastian Bourdais. That got him a little more ground, and Dixon is still bogged down behind Jack Hawksworth.
Castroneves has more anxious to get by.
Ooh, something happened with Montoya because Daly got back by.
A lot of racing going on. We're just coming to 10 laps to go, and you can see the urgency now of these guys wanting to make moves and get as many positions as they can.
Graham Rahal running behind Montoya. Damage to the front wing there. Look at that little rear front wing fence.
Oh, touched the back of Charlie. Tim and Charlie don't have a lot of love for each other. They had some argy-bargy in Iowa. Montoya was very upset. He does not enjoy racing with Charlie.
And even though that's the slowest corner on the track down there at turn 3, when you're that close up behind the gearbox, you do lose downforce, and it matters for grip on the front end.
So how do they sit? It's Kanaan, Power, and there's a change here because Castroneves has got James Hinchcliffe for that 3rd position. Then Takuma Sato, Michael Lotion, Sebastian Bourdais, Jack Hawksworth hanging in there ahead of Scott Dixon, and Simon Pagenaud as Canaan is in.
And of course, he is just going to take a splash. You will not see Tony Kanaan. You can see the leaders flashing by. He's going to lose significant time, but they're only going to take a splash here. This is a timed fuel-only stop. Paul, you said he was hoping for a top 10. He might slip about in that range as he gets back up to speed, and they flash by the front straightaway.
He's going to come out in 4th place right here, so he's got to hold off Hinchcliffe. That's on super save mode. He's got hot tires, so he could go straight for the push to pass and make a move. So he's not trying to warm up cold tires.
Can turn it into a podium on a 3-stop strategy. Tony Kanaan, by just going qualifying lap after qualifying lap. TK may have a shot at a podium here. Aloshin and Sato are together again, and the same result. Sato prevails. Dixon gets Hawksworth. Pagenaud is looming large in the young Brits' mirrors. It's all to play for, but can anyone catch Willie P?
For 7th. Ooh, smoked that thing. How many push to passes does he have left? 1.
As we welcome you back to Toronto, a reminder that you can check in with Victory Lap tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern on NBCSN to catch up with all of your NASCAR news. And if you don't want to know the results of the Loudon, New Hampshire event, Matt Kenseth, your man. Beautiful day on Lake Ontario as we pick up the leader, Will Power, and he says, see you later. His last victory came when that man there, Tony Kanaan, was chasing him down at Road America, but he is on his way to the top step of the podium. Let's check in with Kevin Lee.
There are a couple of guys in the top 5 are really trying to stretch it. James Hinchcliffe in 3rd and Takuma Sato in 5th, pitted on 47, trying to go 38 laps with 4 or 5 laps of yellow in there to get to the end. I just spoke with Larry Foyt on Sato's stand, and he put his fingers together, and he said it's going to be very close if it stays green, but they're going to give it a go and try to go from starting 20th to finishing 5th. Robin Miller?
Kevin, I just talked to Joseph Newgarden, and he said he's fine. He's just so mad at himself because he said, I tried to stay off that curb on turn 5, and he goes, I'm so mad at myself for hitting that curb because my hand was getting weaker. My hand was getting weaker as the race went on, and it's totally my fault, which is exactly what you expect from a kid as humble as he is. And he's such a racer. He's so mad at himself. And I'm like, brother, you had a broken hand. He said, well, I made a mistake. I should have never gone up there. I got my hand off. I'm not hurt. I'm just fine. I'm just mad.
refreshing to hear that honesty out of a young driver, but this is the battle.
I think that Hinchcliffe has kind of given up on the fuel strategy because they're looking now like they're going to make it, and Kanaan came out of the pits, and he should be going gangbusters all over the back of Hinchcliffe, but Hinchcliffe's pulling away.
Katie, what do you hear?
Lee, I hear absolutely nothing from James Hinchcliffe himself, except every few minutes his team is giving him a fuel number, telling him to keep hitting that fuel number. It's extremely important. Just 5 laps to go to see if the hometown hero can make it to the checkered, Lee.
Scott Dixon made a big move on Sebastian Bourdais right there about a lap and a half ago into turn 3, couldn't pull it off, so Montoya is in the wall.
And that is really going to help Hinchcliffe.
Oh,
this
that's it.
Could end under yellow unless they can really clean these cars quickly.
And Montoya's not alone. That's Jack Hawksworth with big damage to the right front. And this is what Hinch needed.
Unless they red flag the race and stop this, I think it'll be very difficult for them to clean this in 3 to 4 laps, which we've seen in the past.
Let's take a look at what happened. So this is down into turn 3. This is Charlie Kimball on the inside, Montoya in the middle. A little bit of contact there with Ryan Hunter-Reay. Now he's on the outside.
That's his favorite guy. So they're banging wheels. I think he ended up with damage here and then just...
So he goes in by himself. Oh, Jack's already there.
He went in to make a pass, and the car was already there, and he had no option but nowhere to go but to head for the tires or hit the other car.
That's what it looked like from Connor Daly's view.
Ran out of lanes.
I'm not sure Montoya would have made the corner if Hawksworth wasn't there, just because of the marbles that accumulate.
That's like a New Jersey lane closure on the bridge. Nowhere to go.
And Hawksworth just radioed in and said Pagenaud ran into the back of me.
Oh, really? They were fighting over position in the top 10. They were fighting for 9th.
Well, let's see. If Pagenaud did hit Hawksworth, that could be a real deal killer for Pagenaud. He'd fall further back with a penalty if that's reviewed.
No damage on the front of that car. I don't see any tire marks, no wings damage, so...
I'm looking at the nose of that, the old Paul Tracy trick. Hit him square in the tire with the nose of the car.
Hopefully we can find a replay of that, because you can say that I was hit, but you got to prove it. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
And he's mad, Hawksworth.
Out of the car already is the whole Matro safety team doing a great job to try and do this as fast as possible. Heavy damage to the front right of that car.
Lots of push to pass left for power, but same situation as Dixon. He had a huge lead and now he's got no lead. So, and these guys will absolutely go nuts with it if there's a green-white checker here.
Think about the ABC Supply AJ Foyt racing team. They were headed potentially to have both their cars in the top 10. Sato is sitting in a fine 5th. Hawksworth was in 9th.
Well, the good news, guys, is that we're definitely going to get a green here. They're going to pull that 41 out of the way.
Right.
They're asking, the Hamaltra crew's asking for extra assistance to push that car. It's got no front corner, so it's dragging on the ground. Difficult to move it because the front of the car is dragging on the ground. They need a bunch of guys here to push it.
That's not far from where we sit. I'm thinking about running out there and helping to drag it out of the way.
Look at how much the points would change, how dramatically they would change from 73 coming in to 47 now. Will Power told us about 3 races ago, I can still win this championship.
You talk about somebody that's going to be urgent on the restart. Scott Dixon.
Look at Pagenaud right behind him. Dixon cannot shake Pagenaud, Townsend.
I don't have the monitor of how many, but Will Power must have plenty of overtakes, and we know he has plenty of fuel. So Tim Cindric said, you're on the overtake all the way around.
6, Kev. He's got 6 left.
With 2 laps to go, and it'll be 1 lap to go, so he'll be holding the button the entire lap, Paul. It works for 15 seconds. A lap time around here is about a minute. He has more than he needs.
Yeah, you got to watch, though. You get on that push to pass, you get down to the end of the brake zone faster than you've been doing it in the past. You can lock up easily, so... You know, it's one thing, get some pickup on the tires, you use that push to pass, get down there 3, 4, 5 miles an hour faster, you might not be able to stop it.
You remember he managed these pushes to pass very well at Elkhart Lake as well.
Yeah.
That's what helped him fend off Tony Kanaan.
Guys, with all of this yellow here at the end, does this give Hinch full fuel and still 2 push to passes he has? Does Hinchcliffe try to go bold as the hometown kid and pull off the miracle?
Yeah.
rubbing those tires. Everybody trying to get all that pickup off the tires. They know that this is going to be it. They've got to get through the last couple of corners clean, get a good start, and get a good exit onto the lakeshore. If you're going to win this race, you got to get the first couple of corners right.
So in the States, we call it a Saturday night shootout, Paul, but here in your homeland, what do we call this on a Sunday in Canada?
I don't know. You got me stumped on that one.
There's Liz Power, wife of Will, and she doesn't handle the stress of being a driver's wife very well. So, and Elio's partner, it's tense times. Ready to go now. Lights are off on the Honda Civic safety car. Elio is desperate for a win, but as Adriana knows all too well, she wants her man to be standing on the top step of the podium. So too does Liz Power. Ready to roll. And look at Hinch. Look at the mayor of Hinchtown. He's ready to get up in it and fight his way not only onto a podium, but perhaps a win. But Will Power has gone back to green in Toronto.
What a beautiful gap he created for himself there through the final two corners. He'll be on the button, hopefully, for the rest of the lap. So far, I don't see it light up. There it is. Top of the roll hoop. It's gone green for Power.
Sato's on the push to pass. Castro Neves is on the push to pass. Everybody that has one is using it. Hinchcliffe has a nice gap to Kanaan. Kanaan has got to make something happen the next lap if he's going to get on the podium.
Look further back. Pagano out of push to passes. He looks pretty exposed there coming down the back straightaway. That's Andretti. And Marco Andretti fighting for a top 10 after starting last.
And Bourdais was able to defend and fend off Scott Dixon. Dixon had to check up and Pagano got close to him. Power, Castro Neves and Hinchcliffe, the local hero, is going to stand on the podium at home. How about that? Turn 8 for the final time. Will Power, he felt good in qualifying. It didn't go all that well, but he loves this place. He's won twice before. And once he clears the revised turn 11, you can make it 3. Will Power, he really is back in this championship fight. Wins on the streets of Toronto.
Yeah, and finally we got a yellow go our way. Great job, guys.
Great strategy call, and it paid off the right way. It's a Team Penske 1-2, and James Hinchcliffe, after a slow start to the weekend, got things to work and strategically did well. Kev?
Tim Cindric called the strategy for this one, the president of Team Penske. Well, your driver was great, but your call won the race.
Well, I mean, we've had to go the other way here for sure, so we've been on the other side of that. So great job by the pit crew, and obviously Will did his job all day. So, you know, sometimes you end up on that end of it, but what we saw there was it looked like we were catching a bit of traffic, and it was time to try and cut our losses, so it worked out for us today.
Your driver has led so many times throughout the season. It did get that one championship. What is this situation like where he's on the charge right now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've had a lot of good runs here lately. He started out slow, but I'm really happy for him because this place has been tough on us. So, you know, certainly yesterday thought we had a faster car, and you know, we could have maybe made things a little bit better, but today we made up for it.
Thanks, Tim. Will Power has won 3 of the last 4, and the other result is second.
28th career win and third, not only this season, third at Toronto. Will Power, your winner.
Good job, man.
Awesome job, man.
Little beauty. Party tonight. Good job, buddy.
This is the Event Tunnel Parks Indycar Radio Network. 7, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. Davey, as we talk about it each and every week, pit strategy is such a part of the Verizon Indycar series that couldn't have called pit strategy to come to Will Power again.
Will Power has got that winning feeling. 3 of the last 4 races going to the man who drives the Verizon Chevrolet. Let's go down victory circle. Here's Kevin.
Win number 28 for Will Power, more importantly for the now third in the last 4 events. He continues his charge towards the top of the championship chart. Power on top of the number 12 Verizon car, celebrating in victory lane for the 3rd time here in Toronto. As you said, finally the yellow went your way. The car was good, but you still needed a break.
Yeah, we did need a break. I mean, that was a great call right there. And, you know, it's finally one went our way, but we had a fast car. We definitely could close down on Simon. I don't know where Scott was, but, you know, got to thank Verizon for the great access that they give to the fans. And, you know, for sponsoring our car and the series. But just a fantastic day for all the Verizon crew.
You were thinking this way when we talked before the race. You said, that last stint, you've got to make it a longer one because you have to come in as soon as the window opens. Was it even a late call? It sounded like it was pitting out and all of a sudden you were there.
Yeah, it was a late call. I could see the 22 getting held up by the 8 car. And I almost wanted to say on the radio, we should pit now because he's going to get held up. But, yeah, Tim called me in. It was perfect timing. But I couldn't believe it. I was driving down pit lane and saw the yellow lights come on my dash. Like, oh, when does that ever happen? That's fantastic.
So you've won 3 races in a row before, but now you've won 3 of 4, second in the other one. How good of a chance do you feel like you have, despite missing a race, to still win this championship?
Yeah, definitely closing the gap, and you know, we got to keep pushing, man. Got to keep pushing, and you know, want to thank Chevy as well for a fantastic body kit and engine. Really, really good.
Great drive. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Will Power celebrating here in the streets of Toronto. Over to Jan.
Also some celebrating going on with Elio Castro Neves. First thing he said was, we're all smiling, because at one point when you had that tire let down, you thought you were in big trouble.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I was smiling because I know we didn't win. Pennzoil Chevrolet car was really strong, and when we felt the car vibrating, and I was just telling Roger, hey, listen, it's vibration, but no, let's not pit, you know, I'm just saying, and all of a sudden I felt the car pulling, and the tire just gave up. You know, I'm not sure why. I noticed the curb in turn 5. It could be, I don't know, you know, there was a lot of if it could, but anyway, finally we got a little break on the yellow. They put us back in a position to fight. Unfortunately, that was very difficult to pass. I was trying everything I could. And in the end, I was like, okay, this is the chance. But Will had like 6 push to pass. I had only 3, and very difficult to get the tires going. But, you know, Roger and the entire Pennzoil Chevrolet guys, man, I'm so proud to be part of this team. These guys are never giving up. And special now, we're not going to give up. Thanks, everyone. Let's keep going. Let's move to the next one.
Now, I overheard the team as they were walking up congratulating you. There was a big cut on the tire, so there was something that took that down. But talk about some of the action. You said how frantic it was. You had some opportunities with Hinchcliffe. You were down in turn 3, big battles going on.
Yeah, no, the car was great, especially on the back. I was really pushing as hard as I could. I mean, I knew Hinch was a little bit on a saving fuel mode, but still, they were really good on straight. Maybe they were trim out a little bit, but you know, this is fun. This is what I love to do. Hopefully, I'll keep going. Still going. I know people sometimes call me old man. It's fine. It's okay. You know what? Old man still kicking young guys' butt. So let's keep moving.
Twice you've been in good positions to go on and win or be on the podium, and then the pit selection went your way. In other words, you went a lap or two too long. Today you pitted early, and for you and Will Power, that was a huge bonus.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's sometimes it's going to rain, but it's going to sunshine here too, as well. But again, guys, we just got to keep moving forward. Verizon Indycar Series, it's very competitive, very tough. But I'm not giving up. We're moving forward. Scott was really good in the beginning. I mean, but unfortunately, we just feel that vibration a little bit. And, oh, man, next one. Mid-Ohio, we're going to make it happen. But so far, so good.
And as he says, Katie, the sun's coming out for Elio.
Absolutely, and the hometown hero, James Hinchcliffe, brings it home on the podium for the very first time here in your hometown. Hinch, could you feel the love from the crowd today?
Yeah, you know, as we were coming to that last restart, I saw everybody in the last section there get to their feet, and I was just hoping I didn't screw it up. You know, it was obviously a great day to have a good day, and for once we caught a lucky break in Toronto. I mean, I'm not going to lie and sit here and say we had, you know, third place pace. We really struggled on blacks in the middle stint, you know, but as the cloud cover came out in that last stint, the track really kind of came to us, so we needed to save fuel. The car was there, and I can't thank Aero and the Schmidt-Peterson guys enough to do it here in Toronto. Petro-Canada, Pizza on board for the weekend. It's awesome. There'll be a party tonight in Hinchtown for sure.
How big was that yellow for your fuel situation?
Yeah, huge. I mean, it was going to be really tough without that. I think we were going to make it, but, you know, my big worry was whether or not we're going to be able to keep TK behind us running full rich, you know, but his tires were 1 million laps old, and I guess that kind of helped us out, but you know, staying in front of everybody here. Yeah, some elbows thrown early in the race with Bourdais at the start, Montoya here, but you know that's the nature of street course racing in this series. And so there was some fun action out there. Had some good battles down at turn 3 with Joseph and Mikhail and guys like that. Yeah, there you go with Mikhail, and it was good fun racing out there. But like I said, we didn't really have out-and-out pace throughout the middle stint for sure. First stint we were okay. But to get that lucky break and come on with a podium for the hometown crowd, the support here in this city is incredible. I can't thank everybody in Toronto enough. They've really made me feel super special when we come here, and I'm happy to give them a result.
Speaking of support, I have to address, you have tons of autographs on your fire suit. What's the story behind that?
Yeah, so, you know, my association with Honda Canada, we partner with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, obviously a very important charity for the organization, and we put this suit up on display at the Honda 10 all weekend. If you made a donation, you got to sign it. So obviously we had a lot of generous people here in Toronto. We made a lot of donations. Hope we made a bunch of money for the charity, and cool little memento for the suit.
Lee, that just explains right there why Hinch is a fan favorite.
He may not be that big physically, but he's got an enormous heart, and he is a terrific guy. Second podium of the year for James Hinchcliffe. Indy Grand Prix, but more importantly, here at home in Ontario, Canada. You're watching CNBC's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Hyatt Gold Passport, the official hotel sponsor of Graham Rahal and the number 15, and by TireRack.com. Find, deliver, install smarter Tire Rack. Celebration time here at Toronto Indy. But a quick reminder that you can see Victory Lap tonight on NBCSN at 8 p.m. Eastern, a wrap up of all the weekend's NASCAR action. For now, though, let's hear from Robin Miller with Juan Pablo Montoya.
Well, Mr. Montoya, you were the fastest guy on the racetrack, passed more cars than anybody, and for nothing, right? It all turns bad because it's not your fault.
No, it's terrible. You know, I mean, yesterday, on Friday, I made a mistake. I put the car on the wall, so we got behind. In the morning, we had a problem, a misfire on the engine, and didn't do any laps before qualifying. We didn't qualify as well as we could. And we knew we had a great race car, you know. The Velvet Chevy is really good. Passed a lot of people, had a lot of fun. Now, I thought I had an easy podium, if not more. And you know, we missed pit. You know, I mean, we missed the pit road call by about 2 seconds. And I started on the back, and you know, I mean, I was running with the 28 there, and went to turn with him, and 41 was in the wall, and there's nowhere to go. So I don't know. It's just every week is something. It's getting really old, really fast, you know.
But speaking of old, you drove like a 21-year-old instead of all these people trying to put you back in sports cars. You look like an IndyCar driver to me today.
Yeah, I love IndyCar, and you know, I mean, I can step it up any day, and it's, you know, I mean, I'm good with that. So, and I like what I'm doing right now.
All right, Juan Montoya, the show of the day. He didn't get paid off, Jan?
Well, you talk about the show of the day. It depends on your definition. One of the shows of the day was the leader who knew you had to stop, Tony Kanaan. You had to gap, and you pulled a big enough gap while they were saving fuel. You dropped back in a great position. We thought you dropped back maybe at the end of the top 10.
I know. I mean, a great call from the guys in the pits. I mean, we knew what we had to do. And I had the red tires, which they were a lot quicker, and then they had to save fuel. And I pushed as hard as I could. But the problem was, you know, 3 laps in, for me to come in, they say, hey, we might keep these tires. I'm like, guys, I destroyed them trying to get a lead. He says, that's the only way you're going to be able to get it. I'm like, all right. So I did 2 laps. I took a little bit easier before we came in, and it worked out. And actually, man, if it hadn't gone yellow in the that last yellow, I think we'd have got hinged because they had to save fuel, and we didn't.
Now, you said this weekend started out in a difficult way because you had to mileage out an engine. You just had to go out. You said you were a track cleaner for the other drivers, but then finally this morning you had a chance to work on your race car.
Yeah, big props to Todd and Barry here in the stands, and also I got to thank Dixon. You know, we ran a pretty similar setup this weekend. It was the closest that we ever ran, and by me not be able to run as many laps on a new tire because we had to do so many laps, it helped a lot.
During the broadcast, we were talking about your future. Okay, there's been a lot of talk. What can you tell us about where you're looking to be next year?
I'm looking to be where I'm at. I'm looking to be an Indycar. I'm not ready to go anywhere else. So hopefully we'll be able to get it done. And you can count that I will do everything I can to stay here.
Well, you certainly showed the kind of speed you had today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Katie?
And Ryan Hunter-Reay brings it home 12th today. But Ryan, you were very unhappy with the car all weekend. Was it an improvement today on race day?
No, it didn't translate. This morning we thought we had some promising direction there, and it just didn't translate from the cold temps in the morning to the warmer temps in the afternoon. I felt like I was still in Iowa there for a little bit. It was like just couldn't really do anything with the car, especially on the blacks, on the primary. So it was a lot of tight racing out there today, a lot of back and forth.
A good pass.
It was a lot of fun, you know, but at times it got a little too tight there. You know, it's Toronto, typical Toronto. It always happens that way. So I just hope our last 2 road and street courses we finished 3rd and 4th. We need to get back on that momentum. This was a pretty off weekend for Andretti Autosport as a whole. So we'll go back and work on it. You know, Toronto's been kind of fire and ice for me. So we've been you know, we've qualified top 4 here. We've won here, but this weekend it was so off the mark. So we'll just keep working at it. I got a positive attitude about it, and we'll find our way out of this.
And mental attitude is a way to dig out of the trenches, Lee.
Yeah, Ryan Hunter-Reay coming home in 12th position today here in Toronto. Here's Andretti Autosport teammate Marco coming home in the top 10, but the day belongs to Will Power, victorious in Canada. Verizon IndyCar Series continues on CNBC from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and that's coming up in 2 weeks' time. It's the Mid-Ohio Grand Prix, Sunday, July 31st, and you can catch that at 2 o'clock Eastern on CNBC. And boy, wasn't that a special moment last year for Graham Rahal to win at a track so near and dear to his family's heart. What's coming up after Mid-Ohio? Well, the Tricky Triangle at Pocono, Texas Motor Speedway for the finishing portion, if you wish, of that event. And then Watkins Glen International. Of course, that was a late change after the Boston event being a no-go, and there's a lot of excitement surrounding Watkins Glen and the return of the Verizon IndyCar Series there. And then the now traditional finishing point at Sonoma Raceway in Wine Country, California. Looking forward to that. Hey, we're endeavoring to get Scott Dixon, but he's a little hard to find at the moment. In the meantime, here's Kevin with Takuma Sato.
And you mentioned Mid-Ohio. He's one of those that will be heading there coming up later on this week to test, preparing for the race in a couple of weeks, equaling his best finish of the season, 5th. Some fuel strategy, but you also had to keep some people behind you today. How challenging?
Yeah, it was a tough stint. I mean, the whole race was tough, but particularly for the last stint, I had to make a lot of hit a good number for the fuel, and obviously a lot of the cars and coming in right to left, and it was a good race. I mean, particularly for the we had a difficult, this one a difficulty qualifier and. Charging from 20s, yeah, that was close. We hit each other anyway, but it was a good fun. I mean, it's Larry and an engineer made the right call for the strategy. The guys did awesome pit stops, so number 14 car was really fast, so I was able to push whole way through the race and they hit the good numbers. And obviously, big congrats to the Hinch, in front of Holcrum. But we were very close. But I think a top 5 result, I take it.
And we shouldn't really be surprised you did well here. What is it with AJ Foyt Racing and you as well to always be strong on street tracks?
It's true. I mean, we had a very strong result from St. Petersburg to Long Beach particularly. We are very strong, one of the top 100s. And come here, so that was a little bit unexpected. Surprisingly, it was a difficult qualifier yesterday. But we fought back, and then this morning in the warm-up, we actually made it, okay, this car's working now. So we made it through it. We needed some strategy, and obviously the yellow helped us a lot. But really, I really appreciate all the guys who made it, come back to the pace, and I was able to push really hard.
Takuma Sato finishes 5th today, also matches his best finish here at Toronto. Nice job. Over to Katie.
And Sebastian Bourdais finishes 7th, but Sebastian, when you got out of the car, you seem a little frustrated. Why?
I mean, it's just, the yellow for track repair, which you repair what? You're going to pour a new curb out there? I mean, it's just, it is the nature of the beast, It's just when you start putting stuff down like that, there's a chance that it's going to come off, and it's stuff that it wrecked our race a little bit, but it wrecked, the leader's race completely, so it's just a shame. But other than that, we lost radio pretty much halfway through the first stint, so I had to call my own race, which was pretty exciting. Just did what we could, but that yellow really teared us up because I was on reds and they were starting to fall off, and at that point I was going to manage the end of my stint with the gap I had, but taking the restart with those and going to the next pit stop sequence was always going to be very difficult, and lost the position to one, and then lost another position on the out lap with Loshin, and it was tough, but overall, take 7th place.
Even as a veteran, were you able to learn something from calling your own race?
No, it's just you're piloting blind. You're just having to make decisions, having no idea what the hell is going on around you and who's doing what, and if you're even close to being able to make it. So I stretched it on the first stop because I really didn't know what else to do, so I waited for the leaders to come in and came in the lap after that. I had fuel in the car for that, so and the car was really good on blacks at that point. But no, I just kind of piloting an airplane with no instruments.
And he still continues to impress here on the streets of Toronto. Lee, that's his 12th top 10 and 13 starts.
Amazing. A little bit left out there somewhere. Sebastian Bourdais not with the result that he would have desired. However, for Dave Faustino and the 12 crew for Will Power, it's selfie celebration time. We'll be back to wrap things up.
moves on my Peter Millar.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah, Townsend.
Were you wearing a size medium Peter Millar today?
I doubt it. I had a red. No, I had a red shirt. I had one of the red NBC shirts.
Small.
Day is done here in Ontario, Canada, where Team Penske's Will Power drove to his third victory in the last 4 races. There he is on the top step, and this kind of run that he's got going on now wins you championships. He's still 47 points behind Simon Pagenaud, his teammate, but the run and the momentum he has got at the moment is truly impressive. And Helio Castroneves sharing that podium, and hometown hero James Hinchcliffe, boy, he will remember this day for some time to come. Got his best ever qualifying position and starting position here on the streets of Exhibition Place, and gets his best ever result also. Let's show you what went down over this 85-lap race, celebrating the 30th anniversary of Indycars on the streets of Toronto. Scott Dixon saw the green flag first, and boy, got away to a tremendous start, but the action happened on lap 1.
This was Hunter Ray getting into Charlie Kimball. Graham Rahal flatted a tire as he crossed the nose of Kimball, but then lap 45, Paul, what happened?
Well, the track started to break apart. That pavement on top of the concrete chunked up, left some debris on the track that went yellow, and that kind of set it up for some real heavy action. And on lap 59, Joseph Newgarden hits that curb. It rips the steering wheel out of his hands, and he hits the wall hard, and look at him grimace.
And that would be the difference for the race. Scott Dixon still hadn't pitted, so that pushed Dixon back, but it played off for Castroneves and others. But on lap 81, it was Montoya who runs wide in turn 5, nowhere to go, locks up, goes into the tires as Hawksworth had crashed, and that brought out the final yellow.
And all the way to the end, it was Will Power who had plenty of pushes to pass in reserve, and wins for not only the 3rd time on this venue, 3rd time in 4 races, as we said. He is on a hot streak right now. So the guy who started the year with missing the race, boy, is he having a strong second part. There's the unofficial results for you. And some not so regulars up there, Paul, the likes of Takuma Sato. Michaela Lotion follows up his top 5 at Iowa with a nice 6th place.
Yeah, nice 6th place, but the guy who really paid the price today on that yellow was Scott Dixon and Pagenaud.
Yes.
They both can't seem to separate each other and separate in the points, but the guy who's making all the moves right now is Will Power.
Looking further back, Connor Daly started so strong, but kind of got pushed around today, survived to finish 15th.
Carlos Munoz was in the action, but then dropped back to 17th. Top place finishing Andretti car was Marco Andretti, and Joseph Newgarden, who started with so much hope, as 2nd in the championship,